Watching the moments before tragedy, the seconds before someone's precious life is snatched away, will always be eerily haunting. For me, it reminds me of our own fragile mortality and ensures that I never forget that any day could literally be my last. And once again, in this video, we're going to take a look at 5 more chilling examples of clips captured right before horror. From a terrifying motorcycle clip in the UK to the infamous Italy cable car incident, this video has footage from the darkest ends of the internet that I guarantee will leave your hair standing on end. So strap in and get ready. Let's get right into it. Jumping straight into the deep end, this first horrifying clip was recorded on August 5th, 2017, in Umlazi, South Africa, a township located southwest of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal. Now, Umlazi is one of the largest townships in the country. Known for its rich cultural history and vibrant community, among the many local pastimes, one popular event is gathering at the local hall to watch bodybuilding competitions. These events drew large crowds, with spectators eager to cheer on their hometown athletes. On that fateful day, a crowd of 100 spectators filled the local town hall, ready to see some epic feats of strength. One of the competitors that year was 23-year-old Sifiso Thabit, a rising star in the bodybuilding world. Sifiso, despite being only 23, was known for his impressive physique and his showmanship. He had an extremely powerful upper body that drew crowds from all across town. He also earned widespread recognition for winning the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness Junior World Championships earlier in 2017. So he was extremely good at what he did, and he was very in shape. That day, as the spectators awaited the ripped bodybuilders, the room's atmosphere was electric. Crowds chanted and screamed, but sadly, this year's bodybuilding competition would turn into something far more tragic, captured in a clip that would soon shock the entire world. All captured on camera, Sifiso greeted the crowd with confidence, wearing his signature black posing trunks as well as his bright white smile. The crowd cheered, and Sifiso, also known for his flair in performances, decided to make it extra special. In all the hype of the moment, he prepared to execute a daring backflip, right in front of the crowd, something that he had done before to great results. However, this time, something went terribly wrong. In front of the crowd of spectators, Sifiso ran forward to the center of the room where a crash mat was located, and he greeted the crowd. Without hesitating, he then crouched down and swung his arms back for momentum and attempted the backflip. In a blink of an eye, he launched into the air, but it was instantly clear to all that he had fatally miscalculated this trick.
He's one of our own here at Umlazi, and he's a world champ. He's going to defend it in overseas. Since you know our country, they don't support us. That's why we bring it to all of you guys.
His rotation was far too slow, and instead of completing the flip, instead he crashed down onto the floor, straight onto his neck and upper spine. The once cheering crowd now turned to a stunned silence.
In overseas, since you know our country, they don't support us. That's why we bring it to all of you guys.
People rushed to his aid, but it was clear he had been seriously injured. Sifiso remained on his back on the floor unconscious. Despite being rushed to hospital, the damage proved fatal. He sustained a broken neck from the botched backflip, and this injury proved too catastrophic, and sadly he died later that day. His death not only shocked the local community, but also shocked the bodybuilding sphere. A promising young talent had been snatched away, all because he messed up one simple trick. What seemed like a fun bodybuilding competition turned into tragedy within just the opening act. His funeral took place a week later, with many local bodybuilders attending to pay their respects to an aspiring athlete lost far too soon. This next truly shocking footage originates in the east of England, in a quiet village known as Hodingham, situated in the county of Norfolk, on June the 8th, 2013. On that fateful summer's day, 38-year-old David Holmes attended a bike meeting in Kings Lynn, a town in Norfolk. This area is a popular gathering place for motorcycle enthusiasts in the region, where multiple bike fans would meet together and show off their impressively fast motorcycles, share experiences, and ride together. David is also known for his passion for motorcycles, as well as his love of going very fast on them. He had been riding motorbikes for years and was very experienced. His enthusiasm for riding often led him to participate in these car meets or motorcycle meets all across Norfolk and beyond, and to capture the thrill of these rides, David frequently recorded his journeys using a helmet-mounted camera, capturing everything from his perspective. Of course, with motorbikes, it's all fun and games until it's suddenly not. That day, after spending some time at the motorcycle meet, David began making his way back home on his silver Yamaha FJR 1300, riding along the A47 motorway in Hodingham Village. His 1300cc bike was an absolute powerhouse, capable of reaching speeds of up to 155 miles an hour, or around 250 kilometers an hour. As seen on his helmet camera footage, David was pushing the limits of what his machine could do. He was speeding excessively, overtaking over vehicles, and just having fun on the road. Now, David's love for speed was something that his friends and family knew all too well, and it often concerned his family. They were worried that one wrong move from him or another driver at these kind of speeds could well be catastrophic. As David sped along the A47, one of Norfolk's busiest roads, his speedometer hit well over 100 miles an hour, with his average speed for the journey being 97 miles an hour. Now that's just absolutely ridiculous for a public road. He was travelling far beyond the 60 mile an hour speed limit that was on the road. Then, as it often does in these videos, tragedy struck with brutal force. Captured entirely by his helmet camera, David could be seen flying down the A47 when all of a sudden, a Renault Clio, driven by 69-year-old Benjamin Austin, made a right turn directly into his path. At the time, David was travelling at an estimated 95 miles an hour, giving him no time to react or take any evasive manoeuvres. In a flash, he crashed into the front of the Clio, destroying both the bike and the car. As he impacted, he was thrown violently into the air and landed in the nearby bushes. Now, the forces at play here, no human can survive that kind of impact. This crash was utterly unsurvivable. He would have landed on the ground and suffered intense internal injuries, and most likely broken his neck and his back. Ambulances rushed to the scene, but of course, David had died on impact. There was nothing that they could do, and he was pronounced dead at the side of the road. Eerily, he had recorded his own death. When officers later reviewed the footage from his helmet camera, it revealed the full scope of this deadly accident. David's excessive speed and riding style showed a clear lack of care for his own safety, as well as everyone else on the road. Benjamin Austin, the guy who was driving the Clio, claimed that he hadn't seen David coming at all. However, police pointed out that there was no reason that he shouldn't have. Despite his insane speed, witnesses that were behind Benjamin's car said that they had seen David approaching from a distance for quite some time. According to their statements, David would have been visible for at least 7 seconds before Benjamin made the turn. Now this is just tragic all around. Over a year after the crash, Benjamin Austin appeared in court and showed extreme remorse for the whole thing. In court, he pleaded guilty to causing death by careless driving, admitting that he had not seen David. The court acknowledged the tragic nature of this whole ordeal, but also emphasized that David's excessive speed was a significant contributing factor. Benjamin was sentenced to a 12-month community order, as well as 130 hours of unpaid work, as well as receiving an 18-month driving ban. After David's tragic death, his mother, Brenda Holmes, turned her grief into a mission to raise awareness about road safety and to save others. she made the difficult decision to release her son's final moments to the public, believing that the footage could serve as a warning to others about the dangers of speeding.
David was the most wonderful son. He was never a tearaway. He never ever got into trouble. He was just polite, friendly, kind, generous, had so much to give. And his friends describe him as a legend and a gentleman. Driver didn't see him and turned right across his path. David didn't have time to take evasive action. This isn't an easy thing to do, but I just hope that somebody benefits from it, that motorists slow down. They look before they turn to junctions. They think, as a motorcyclist, yeah, he's going fast, what might he do? Motorcyclists think, as a car driver, what might he do?
Instantly upon releasing this footage, the video went viral, quickly gaining over 20 million views on social media. So, if you're going to take anything away from this case, it's to be vigilant while driving and don't speed. Even if you're not speeding, this thing can happen to anyone on either side. It takes only one mistake to cause deaths like this. You may be the best driver in the world, but that doesn't account for every other person on the road's mistakes. So be careful, drive safe, and don't forget to look twice, because you might have just missed a speeding motorbike. This next horrifying clip originates from Motorone, a peaceful mountain nestled between two lakes, recorded on May the 23rd, 2021. To get up and down this mountain, there was a cable car called the Strese Alpino Motorone cable car. Now, this cable car was a popular attraction connecting the towns of Strese to the summit of Motorone. Motorone stands at 1,492 meters above sea level and is absolutely beautiful. The cable car ride up and down the mountain was more than just a way of getting up and down easily. It was an experience. Passengers were treated to breathtaking views as the cabin ascended two sections, offering panoramic views of the lakes nearby, as well as beautiful views of the distant alpine peaks and lush forested hills. On that spring afternoon, the Strese Motorone cable car, designed to carry up to 47 passengers, had only 15 people on board. These 15 people included families, tourists, as well as hikers, all enjoying what seemed like a calm, peaceful ride to the top. Of course, that day, they hopped into the cable car, and it began taking them up the mountainside. They must have whacked out their phones and recorded the beautiful journey to the top. I bet they were having the time of their lives. Now, the journey to the top was smooth, and CCTV footage from the summit station showed the cabin approaching its final stop, gliding smoothly just 5 meters away from the platform. As it came in for its final stop, the cable car continued rising until exactly 12:22 p.m. All of a sudden, a loud hiss echoed out, followed by the sharp snap of metal under extreme tension. Without any warning, the main haulage cable had failed, leaving the cabin unsupported. The CCTV footage showed a violent jolt as the cabin suddenly began rolling backwards down the steep mountain slope. Normally, in situations like this, the cable car's automatic hydraulic safety brake would have engaged within seconds, locking the cabin in place and preventing any further movement. But that day, the hydraulic safety brake did not engage. With no brakes whatsoever, the cabin rolled slowly at first, but within moments, it gained speed and disappeared from the CCTV view as it hurtled downhill. An absolute nightmare unfolded as the cabin gained momentum, now completely out of control. The cable car's deadly descent ended when it collided with the pylon further down the slope. This impact snapped it loose from the last cable that it was attached to, and the cabin, as well as the 15 people inside, plunged 55 meters or 180 feet down below. The cabin crashed to the ground and tumbled violently down the steep, rocky slope before slamming into a cluster of trees. This kind of impact was insane. Rescue teams rushed to the cable car, but by then, most of the passengers were dead. It was too late. 13 people died on impact, their injuries horrific. Debris, as well as shattered glass, was scattered along the mountainside. One person was thrown out of the cabin and died tumbling down the mountain. Miraculously, 2 children were pulled from the wreckage alive. They were airlifted to a nearby hospital, and despite desperate efforts by doctors to save them, one of the children later died, bringing the death toll to 14. This left one sole survivor, a 5-year-old boy named Ethan Byron, a child from Israel. He was found barely conscious among the wreckage. He was the only member of his family to survive. He was instantly orphaned.
A mountain cable car plunges to the ground in northern Italy, killing 14 people.
A climb to admire alpine beauty, ending in tragedy. The cable car was in the last part of its journey, nearly 1,500 meters high, when it plunged to the ground, killing most on board. It seems a cable near the final pylon broke away, but the cause isn't yet clear. Rescuers struggled to reach the densely wooded site, one fire vehicle even overturning en route. No teams were injured. An investigation will try to discover how and why a trip through this tourist idyll collapsed in disaster.
News of this tragedy quickly reached mainstream media, and it shocked Italy and the entire world. But as investigators pieced together what exactly had gone wrong, they uncovered some shocking details. Based on photos from the disaster site, experts determined that at least one of the gondola's emergency brakes had been deliberately disabled. A steel clamp had been placed on the brake, a device that is typically used during maintenance tasks. This prevented the emergency brakes from functioning whatsoever, and if the emergency brakes had been working, they would have locked the cabin in place when the cable snapped, preventing 14 people from losing their lives. 3 days later, on May the 26th, 2021, 3 employees of the cable car company who were responsible for disabling this emergency brake were arrested. Further investigation revealed that the brake system had been malfunctioning for some time. It was frequently activating randomly due to a persistent hydraulic oil leak. This caused the gondolas to stop mid-ride, and in turn, cost the company money. Instead of fixing the issue, the employees made a reckless decision. They disabled the brake system and added the clamp, and this allowed the cable car to continue running without any interruptions, instead of fixing the oil leak that was causing the brake to fail. For months, this dangerous workaround of the brake seemed to work, until May the 23rd, when it all went wrong and sealed the fate of almost everyone inside. Investigations also discovered that the traction cable that snapped had rusted from the inside. Now this is because routine maintenance that should have been carried out every 3 months was omitted for 5 whole years. Just bonkers. This entire accident was really a deadly disaster waiting to happen. By May the 30th, 2021, all 3 employees were released from prison. 2 were found not culpable, while the third was only sentenced to 6 months of house arrest for his role in the disaster. What began as a peaceful ride turned into tragedy and horror, one that could have been easily avoided at every step. Dashcams capture some of the most crazy clips to grace the internet. From near misses to outright catastrophes, they capture the lot. However, it's not often that footage like this emerges. The clip in question comes from northern Vietnam in, and excuse my pronunciation, I did try, Phong Chau, in the Phu Tho province, on September the 9th, 2024. That day, Vietnam was still in the grips of Super Typhoon Yagi, one of the most powerful storms to strike the region in decades. Before reaching Vietnam, Yagi had already left a trail of destruction all across Southeast Asia, killing dozens in the Philippines and its surrounding area. At its peak, Yagi was classified as a Category 5 equivalent super typhoon, with 1-minute sustained winds of 160 miles an hour, or 260 kilometers an hour. Yagi brought torrential rain, devastating storm surges, as well as widespread flooding wherever it went. When the typhoon made landfall in the north of Vietnam on September the 17th, 2 days previously, Intense winds triggered landslides and flash floods, forcing over 50,000 people out of their homes. Rivers swelled beyond their banks, consuming homes, farmland and infrastructure. But by September the 9th, many believed and hoped that the worst was now past them. But nature wasn't done with them yet. On the 9th, heavy rains continued, pushing the famous Red River to its limits. This river begins in the Yunnan province in China and flows all the way through northern Vietnam. In Fengshao, spanning the length of the river, was the Fengshao Bridge, a critical link for traffic. This bridge, completed on July 28, 1995, was 375 metres long, or 1,230 foot, and it served as a vital lifeline for local traffic, with over 10,000 vehicles travelling over it every single day. But that fateful day, as rain continued to pound the region, locals carried on their routines, crossing the bridge, totally unaware of the impending danger. As people crossed the bridge, completely without warning, at around 10 AM in the morning, catastrophe struck. All captured on dashcam footage, vehicles moved steadily along the bridge until, all of a sudden, the central section of the bridge collapsed. Concrete and steel twisted violently as the structure plunged into the raging river below. Those who were on the bridge at the time had no time to react. As it collapsed, it brought with it 10 vehicles, including a truck, 2 trailers, 6 motorcycles, as well as a gent on an electric bike. Rescue teams and emergency services rushed to the scene, but when they got there, they were met with a total disaster. Instantly, they launched a desperate operation to save those in the water to try and stop them being swept away to their deaths. Initially, 13 people were missing. Divers and rescue boats fought powerful currents filled with debris and wreckage, and within hours, 3 survivors were pulled from the water. One motorcyclist who survived later described the ordeal as a brush with death. Rescue and recovery efforts continued, but by September the 23rd, only 3 bodies had been recovered from the river. 7 people still remain missing to this day. By the time Typhoon Yagi was finally weakened, it had caused an estimated of 83 trillion Vietnamese dollars worth of damage, equating to $3.5 billion US. The storm also left 322 people dead across Vietnam alone, making it the deadliest storm since Typhoon Linda in 1997, which claimed the lives of 3,000 people. In the aftermath, the local government announced plans to rebuild the Fengshao Bridge. The project, valued at $26 million, promised a larger, stronger, and more resilient bridge, one that locals hoped would prevent such horrific tragedies from ever occurring again. This next truly insane clip was recorded near one of Hawaii's most iconic locations, the Nepali coast, situated on the northeast side of Kauai, one of Hawaii's islands, on February the 27th, 2024. Known for its jagged cliffs, emerald valleys, and turquoise waters, the Nepali coast stretches 17 miles along the island of Kauai, attracting adventurers and tourists from all across the globe. Hidden among this beautiful coastline sits the Honopu Beach, a secluded, untouched paradise rarely seen by the public. Unlike Hawaii's more accessible beaches, Honopu is practically off limits to most of the public. There are no roads, no trails, or any easy ways to reach it. The only way you can actually see it is by air or through a sanctioned boat tour along the Nepali coast. Even kayaking or swimming to this location is strictly off limits, so because of this, helicopter tours have become the preferred option for those seeking a luxury experience. One of the companies offering these sky-high adventures was the Jack Harter helicopters. For around $350, passengers could pay to soar above the Kauai waterfalls, its cliffs, as well as its secret beaches, seeing parts of the island that most could only dream about. On that particular February day, the weather was perfect. There was clear skies, calm winds, and golden sunlight. It was the perfect time for a flight. As scheduled, 4 passengers, as well as the pilot, hopped into a Jack Harter tour helicopter, and within minutes, they were soaring high above the island, capturing breathtaking views that almost looked unreal It seriously doesn't even look real, this footage. It's insanely beautiful. Everything seemed picture perfect. Until it wasn't. Out of nowhere, the helicopter suddenly suffered engine failure. The sudden loss of power sent the helicopter into a auto-rotation, a controlled but rapid descent. Though the rotor blades continued spinning, at this point they had slowed significantly and the helicopter began dropping fast. With no time to waste, the pilot acted decisively, aiming for Honopu Beach, the nearest open stretch of land. As the helicopter descended towards the beach, seconds seemed to stretch into an eternity. The footage showed it approaching rapidly. At this point, it was clear that they were going down. Passengers, I bet, hoped and prayed for the best, completely helpless to aid their situation. You can only imagine the terror on board as everyone braced for impact. Then, about 25 seconds after the engine had failed, the helicopter made a hard landing on the sand and the footage cuts off. Absolutely terrifying. Emergency signals were picked up almost immediately, and rescue helicopters and boats rushed to the scene, expecting the worst. As they got to the beach, miraculously, despite the intensity of the crash, everyone on board survived. As I do say in these videos, clips before horror doesn't always mean death. Only one passenger sustained a back injury and was flown to the local hospital by air ambulance. The other 3 passengers, as well as the pilot, were rescued by another Jack Harter helicopter, and I can't imagine what was going through their heads as they boarded onto another helicopter from the same company right after crashing. Despite everyone surviving, this incident is a chilling reminder that air travel can go wrong in an instant. You've all seen those plane crashes in just 2025 alone, which I probably will be covering, by the way. It's kind of crazy that this can all just happen within an instant. While engine failures are rare and do often give warning signs beforehand, sometimes they just happen without notice. However, thanks to the skill and quick thinking of the pilot, a potential horrifying tragedy was narrowly avoided. His calculated actions not only saved his own life, but also the lives of all 4 passengers. But that is the end of the video. May all those featured rest in peace. Now honestly, this video was just crazy. From the botched backflip to the bridge collapse in Vietnam, I'm always sat here shocked. With cameras in everyone's pockets, it's truly insane what is captured on film nowadays. The backflip that went wrong in South Africa was just truly devastating. I truly had to stop researching for the day because the guy involved was only 23, younger than me, and he lost his life in an instant in front of a crowd of people. It's tragic that it cost him his life in the most brutal way. Then we've got the David Holmes helmet footage. What was he thinking? Actually, I do know what he was thinking. He wasn't. He showed a clear lack of care for himself and others, and while it is truly tragic that he passed away, I am very glad that nobody else had to die in this accident as well. I honestly don't think it's fair that the Clio driver lost his license because of it. While yes, he should have seen him coming, at the speed at which he was travelling, I'm not surprised he was missed. I do think it's amazing that his mother used her son's death to warn others about the dangers on the road, likely saving many lives. But if you ride motorbikes, please let this be a lesson. Don't ride too fast and take caution on the road. because it can all end in an instant. Of course, then we covered the tragic cable car incident in Italy. That one I've been wanting to cover for some time. While it is a well-known case, it still shocked me to my core. The fact that one child lost his entire family within an instant just doesn't bear thinking about. Just imagine what he witnessed when he opened his eyes to the wreckage of that cable car. Oh, God, it's just horrible. What makes it all the more tragic is the fact that they had disabled the emergency brake to ensure that it continued to run, but they also failed to conduct proper maintenance on the cables at all. These decisions cost many people their lives, and the people who did this were barely held responsible for it. I personally won't be going on any cable cars after this. I'll walk or just not bother. The bridge footage in Vietnam was also shocking. Like, I didn't see that coming when I first saw the clip. It pains me to think about the 7 people that were never recovered. They were just going about their day, and then suddenly they fell into water, washed downstream, never to be seen again. And last, but certainly not least, the helicopter footage in Hawaii. That clip left my palms sweaty. The noises and the pitch of the blade increasing as they went towards the ground, it just gave me pure anxiety. I think I would have had a heart attack before it even crashed into the ground. It's a serious miracle that they survived, because as you know from this channel, most helicopter crashes are fatal for all aboard. In my opinion, the only reason they survived was due to the quick thinking of the pilot, as well as him landing on the sand, which would have broken the impact slightly. Regardless, what a shocking thing to go through. But most importantly, what did you guys think of this one? As you guys know, I try to read each and every comment, so do let me know your thoughts below. However, just before I go, if you're already not aware, we now have a Patreon. Over there, I'll be uploading videos 24 hours early, as well as completely uncensored and uncut. Oh, and ad-free. Now, this doesn't mean overly graphic, just how my videos were always intended to be viewed, without censoring. So, if you want to support me, as well as enjoy ad-free, uncut videos, click that link in the description below and check it out. Oh, and while you're down there, if you're not subscribed and you've made it this far into the video, what are you doing? Go ahead and smash that subscribe button now, as well as tickle that notification bell to be alerted at when I release content such as this. But I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.